Hey everyone, this is Gary, the Renegade Dream Builder, and today I'd like to talk about Rule 72. Now I realized I usually post on Wednesdays, and I was a little late this week, so I apologize for that. I'm having some audio difficulty with my camera, so I'm trying to figure that out. So I decided to use the webcam on this just to get my videos out while I'm trying to figure out the audio. So let's get started. Rule 72. Ever heard of it? Einstein considered it the greatest mathematical discovery in history. And he also said it was the eighth wonder of the world. Now, part of the reason he said that was he tried to figure out compounding interest, and that's exactly what Rule 72 was about. And he could never figure out how it worked. The only thing he could come up with was Rule 72. So let's get right into it. Let's say that you have $10,000 to invest. It would be really nice to know how long it would take that money to double. This is what Rule 72 is really about. So we put 72 here. And let's just say that we're making 10% interest. In today's world, that's a dream, but I think it'll be obvious why I'm using 10% as we go along. So we're getting 10% interest. You divide 10 into 72, and you get 7.2, and that is in years. 10% divided into 72 gives us 7.2 years. So in 7.2 years, your 10,000 will become 20. Now, if you maintain 10% for another 7.2 years, this is what's really interesting. 20 becomes 40. Again, goes another 7.2 years at 10%. That becomes 80. Pretty exciting. Now, what they're not telling you is this. The government says that you start your career basically when you're 20 years old. So let's say you have $10,000 to invest and you're 20. And for those who aren't 20, this is why this is so important, because you can do the math on this. So in 7.2 years, and I'm going to leave the 2 off and just use the 7, but eventually that will kick in as you get older. You'll be 27. That's when you hit 20,000. And at 34, that's when you hit 40,000. And then when you hit 80,000, you'll be 41. That's why this formula is so important to start when you're young. And I'm going to show you why in a minute. Let's say that in today's market, you'd be lucky if you get 3%. So we're going to take 3 and divide it into 72, and we're going to get 26. Now this is years. It takes 26 years at 3% for that 10,000 to become 20. So 3%, 26 years, 10 to become 20. Now if you start when you're 20, all of a sudden, right here, you're 46 years old. So up here you go from 10 to 40,000, you're only 41 years old. So you can see how important it is to get the percentage as high as you can get it and start as young as you can. This should be taught in school, definitely, but it's what the bank doesn't want you to know about, and that's a fact. I went to a bank to open a checking account, and the girl invited me in. She was all excited, and I've had checking accounts before, so I wasn't that excited. And earlier in my life, I didn't know about Rule 72. So I'm sitting there, and She said, and our checking accounts pay 1% interest on the money. And I said, really? Have you ever heard of Rule 72? And she said, no. I said, let me show you how it works. So I did 1%. I mean, you already know the answer to this. It comes out 72. So whatever I have for money in my checking account is going to take 72 years to double. Now, if I start when I'm 20, that's a long time. Well, what are the chances that I'm actually going to see that money? And, you know, how much do you really keep in your checking account? You have to have a checking account. But the point is, she did not understand this rule and how important, really, that it is. And that is Rule 72. That's it. Anybody can learn this rule. And it's something you should carry with you all the time. So when people are throwing percentages at you, you can actually look at it and in your head divide that number into 72 or on a piece of paper right in front of them and say, this is what I'm getting. And it makes for better choices because you can say, yes, I like this, or no, it's not enough. And negotiate from that point. But you're not signing papers being unaware of what your actual return is. So I hope you found this helpful. This is Gary, the Renegade Dream Builder, and I will see you on the next episode of Dream Builder Nation, where we will be talking about the 45-year plan. You were born into it. You didn't have to sign up, but you're in it anyway. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Hey everyone, I thought I'd leave with this quote from Thomas Jefferson. Now I'm going to be reading it, so I'll be looking down. I apologize for that, but this is a really important quote. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their money, first by inflation and then by deflation, the banks and the corporations that will grow up around them, around the banks, will deprive the people of their property until their children will wake up homeless on the continent that their fathers conquered. Thomas Jefferson. Those are wise, wise words. This is not the first time we've been through this as a nation, but I think it's the first time we've been through it as a world. And it's all because we're not financially educated. So remember Rule 72, teach it to your children so that they are more aware when they go out about what choices that they're making. And do 29% interest and divide it into 72, because that's what most of the banks are doing on the credit cards, and then add in fines and go back 3 or 4 months or 6 months like they're doing, adding the interest onto that. And you'll see how much money that these crooks are actually making.